Ignite, sparked by BBB, where conversations are taking place to change the future.
Welcome back, everyone, to BBB Sharing. I'm Evie, Director of Ignite, sparked by BBB. And today, my lovely guests are Ajax Green and Shelly
Yost Brady.
Okay, I was going to say Jost, but I didn't want to say it wrong, so that's why I kind of hesitated and looked at you. Thank you for correcting me.
No problem.
You guys, I got to know you a little bit prior to today, but now I really got to know a little bit more about what you do. So everyone that's listening, they want to learn about you guys. Go ahead, you have the floor. Tell me about what you guys are working on.
Well, we've recently moved forward on an idea that I've been thinking about for like 10 years, and I'm really excited. It kind of feels like one of those things that in hindsight now is so obvious, but it was like, why didn't we think to put peanut butter and chocolate together? But until now, we didn't. So there's two problems we're attempting to solve. First is 97% of businesses in America gross less than $1 million a year. And it's a little sad because I think there's a lot of room for growth there. And the reality is they can't afford the $300 to $1,500 an hour it takes for professional top-end advisory services. But we know from sports and every other high-level activity, no one succeeds without a coach or an advisor, someone helping out, allowing you to get out of your own head and have a different perspective on the problem. So there's one problem, is helping those locally owned independent business really achieve what their product that they've designed, their product or service is capable of, but they can't quite figure out how to get it there. The other side is I know so many people that are retired or semi-retired who ran successful companies. Maybe they ran a division of a large company, and they want to work part-time. They want to be active. They want to be engaged. They want to feel valuable. But yet, the only thing they're finding is they can be a checker at Walmart, which is it's an insult, to be honest. And so we want to marry those two things together. It'll be called Silver Advisors. And I think it's a real win-win for these two communities to help one another out. So, that's what's on our mind at the moment.
One of the things that you guys had mentioned that I thought was amazing, and something that I did want you guys to elaborate on, is that it's not just for people who are retired and are looking to continue showing their expertise to the community of small businesses, but it's also being able to have that older generation be able to communicate with the younger generation and kind of work as a team together. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so that's a love of mine. We have a mutual colleague, and you know him too, Gail. But he always says, "I grow leaders." And I think when I was 6 or something, somebody said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I said, "A teacher." And they said, "Oh, there's no money in that. Be something else." But so while I became something else, many something else's, I've been a teacher in everything that I've done, and I love it because if I support you in helping you elevate into your gifts that you came to this universe to share, then I can go on and do something else. And so often, I grew up in a little bit more of the corporate silo structure where it was business as usual. That's my air quotes. And it was being micromanaged, top down, do it this way only. And to know me, if you really know me, I've lived on the innovator side of the curve my entire life. So my career, even though I want to try to live in the middle, it's so boring that, I just have to disrupt it. But I've created a lot of really beautiful things and elevated a lot of people into, like I said, their gifts and their greatness. So that's what we want to keep doing here. Where I think one of the things we talked about is I have an incredible lived experience. I'm a woman of a certain age. When I was younger, I was told, well, we want all your great ideas and energy, but a gray hair will present it for us. Well, I have the gray hair now, so I get to
Silver hair.
silver hair, right? And I love it, and I want to be able to take still all of that, years of lived experience and wisdom, and not just give it back, but allow it to nurture and cultivate. Like there were a handful of people in my career that helped rise me up. And so where do we marry all of the youth and exuberance and energy and a whole lot of want to be something with the trial and error, the failure, the market crashes, the cyclical, everything. I mean, it took me to get to this place to realize, oh yeah, everything is a cycle and it's a blip in time. I heard something this morning about the market crash in 2008-9 and the pandemic and other things back in history, but they're all a blip when you look at it over time. And how can we provide some just guidance to others so that they'll venture forward too? Like, don't stay in a place because somebody said that's the box.
Yeah.
And thinking outside the box is still too much focus on the box. Let's just take all the walls down. So.
I have to agree. One of the reasons why I am where I am today is because somebody much older, like Barry, who's the same age as my dad, saw me and got to talking to me and said, hey, she'd be great to be a part of a program that I want to grow. Because I could hire somebody. We call him here in the office a Jeff. And he said I could have hired a Jeff, but you brought in that newness and that fresh perspective. And yeah, we butt heads back and forth, but that's natural because I'm trying to listen to him and understand his language, and he's trying to understand my language, even though we're both speaking English. And it's been a journey, but it's been a great one. So I loved that aspect of what you guys are doing here. I think it's really creative and really amazing.
I think the other thing too, though, is it's not just like working across generations, but even from peer to peer. To create a business, uh, even if you're taking over a business created by somebody else or you're trying to start your own, just to have somebody help you get out of your tunnel vision, to bounce your ideas off of, for somebody to encourage you, or really try to mine. I think we were talking earlier that sometimes we can focus on some of the mechanics instead of the intention. And if you're focused on the mechanics and what's your price point and what's your delivery system, then somebody can look at you and say, what's your discount? Now you're a commodity.
Yes.
So let's shift the conversation past that and get underneath why you're even doing this and why it matters to you to do it, and then why it would matter to somebody else to engage you with it. And when you do that, that's like, now we've just taken your little pilot light and fanned you into a bonfire and like go light the world on fire, right?
It's funny that you say that because it reminds me a lot. I used to work in the food industry, and it reminds me a lot of all these food companies, right? They're like, oh, well, let me see your prices. I want to compare your price. Well, that kind of puts you down next to the competitor, right? So now you guys are competing between prices with each other instead of just competing over, hey, we have the best customer service. Our consultants come and see you every single day or whenever you call them, and they're always accessible, and our quality of food is better than the other guy. But instead we're so focused and fixated on how much to charge for those services.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we were talking earlier too. It's like you will enroll yourself into a product if you can identify with it, if it means something to your life. And now I'm back into the why it matters, right? Because I mean, I joked last night with a bunch of entrepreneurs at U of R, but I asked the girls, like, how many $300 pair of boots do you have in your closet? You can't afford it. You can't afford that, to even somebody our age, right? Like you took that trip you couldn't afford, you bought that dinner that you couldn't afford to even buy groceries, but you talk yourself into something, you enroll yourself into something. What are the stories you tell? What are the ones that you identify with that cause you to do whatever it is you do? And it's trying to tap into that kind of energy and get past the trying to create a false narrative to outsell your competition,
Yeah.
because that falls flat really fast. And your company falls apart. All of a sudden, you can't keep up with the Joneses because you didn't have something authentic. And I think that's a place that Ajax and I really like to come from, is the authenticity and really being, understanding why you live the life you live.
Maybe it would be useful, we throw out the word wisdom a bit, and I think it's really important. Humanity is incredibly intelligent, but has almost no wisdom. And it's one reason, forget any political discussions, but it's one reason why we just have crisis upon crisis that we're facing. I mean, this lack of wisdom the bill is coming due. But our definition of wisdom, and we're fairly specific. So most people sitting there listening to this podcast, as they're listening, they're using one part of their brain at a time. Our definition of wisdom is when we use all of the parts of our brain, our heart and our gut simultaneously and as an integrated whole. And so whatever's happening in any given moment, we're just effortlessly and automatically shifting around so that we have a more effective and most effective response. And when we start to learn to do that, we start performing on an entirely different level, oftentimes referred to as flow. McKinsey has studied flow. People who work from a flow state are 500% more effective than those who aren't. And in the future, companies aren't going to be able to afford people who are 500%, down the performance scale. And not that everyone does that all the time, but it kind of gives us some place to be aspirational to. And I think what comes out of that also is more impactful companies and organizations. And when I say impactful, not only in terms of profitability, but be creating goodness that our society is, sadly lacking at the moment. And so, it's an exciting thing to start to understand.
Yeah, I think when I mentioned authenticity earlier, like that's exactly it. When it comes from this other place, very intuitive place, because you've tapped into those other areas. I mean, your gut is is it your gut, your second heart, or your second brain? But anyway, your most profound intelligence is the one, inside the body. And so when you even hear words like embodiment and mindfulness and all these other things, I mean, that's the paradigm shift, is getting out of our head where we're thinking that we've got to come up with the most intelligent thing, or how to outsmart somebody as if it were how to win that rat race, right? Like all of that feels really good as I say that, right? No, it doesn't. That's the whole business as usual, because the monkey mind is just going at it. But it's when we shift from that high empty brain space down into our full body hearted space and create that connection, that's the paradigm shift. All of a sudden, then I'm the satisfied person doing what I love, doing something that I'm passionate about, that I'm listening to the wisdom, the intuition in my body that says, go West, young man, and then you're off. But when I bring that person to the workplace, then I'm inspiring you. Now I'm back to growing leaders, right? And then you're set on fire because, we're doing that jointly. And then, it's a little bit of the pebble in the pond, but as soon as I do it within myself, I bring that as permission for others to do it. And again, back into the bonfires.
I love it. Well, thank you guys so much. How can people get in contact with you guys?
The best thing for now would be to email me at Ajax at Coherence, Coherence Collaborative.com. And Silver Advisors to begin with will be a DBA of that particular LLC. So that's how people can currently reach me.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Shelly, Ajax, for coming in. Any last words?
Thank you for having us today.
Of course. Everyone that is watching on YouTube, BBB Central VA, please make sure to like, share, subscribe, and comment down below. It really helps us out. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you can get notified every time we post. And if you're listening on BBB Sharing Spotify, please make sure to follow us and share it out as well. Thank you.
Ignite, sparked by BBB, where conversations are taking place to change the future.